What? You ready? Hey, everybody. Edwin with Texas Surplus and Survival here on a very toasty Thursday evening. I'm happy to introduce you to one of my business partners, David Andrews. We've been working together for several years and actually a longtime friend of my dad's. So we kind of hooked back up at a gun show several years ago, and David is the owner and operator of Andrews Ammunition, which is housed in-house here at Texas Surplus. David manufactures new premium ammo for firearms. But what we're going to talk about today is ham radio. David is a longtime ham operator. Kind of got me re-excited about the hobby, and I'm now a ham operator again. So we're going to talk about ham radio this evening. So, David, what's your background in ham radio?
I started in 1976, got my license, and I was what, 22 years old maybe, and as a matter of fact, a blind guy was my so-called Elmer,
Right.
and he did Morse code. So I'm I'm basically a Diddy Bop Morse code operator,
Okay.
and I've been doing it forever. Even in the Philippines, I did it.
So
You know?
you were using your radio skills in the military as well,
Yes, correct. I was a Mars operator at Clark Air Base in the Philippines on the island of Luzon.
correct? Okay.
And the Mars station had been closed for a couple of months because they did away with the personnel.
Hmm.
And I went to the base commander and says, "Listen, I'm a Mars operator from the States." And he threw me the keys to up on the mountain to the Mars station there. So we would, I'd contact AFART's TV, Armed Forces Radio and Television Service, and tell them that the Mars station is open. They'll crawl across the screen, and my phone's lit up, and because everybody wanted to talk to mom and dad back to the world or back to the States.
Okay, so tell us a little bit, what is Mars?
Well, Mars,
This is a military application,
it's a
right?
military affiliated radio system.
Ah, all right, Mars.
Mars,
Okay.
the acronym for Mars.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what does it do exactly?
Well, we used to do phone patches, back to the States,
Mhm.
when we was overseas, morale calls, what we call them.
Okay.
But now what we do in Mars today is my station sometimes will be set on a certain frequency, and if an aircraft wants to contact, just say, Dias, command post, well, they'll call on Mars frequency, and I'll dial them into the system at Dias or any other military installation.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah,
interesting technology.
yeah.
Okay, so there for a long time, when I was growing up, we talked about ham people, and kind of the impression was a bunch of old men sitting around doing Morse code on a telegraph key. It's far from that.
Far from it. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we have a lot of different options now for communicating through ham radio. We have voice, we have computer uplink like FT8. There's a lot of different technologies now that we're using in ham radio that have come about in the last, say, 10 years or so.
The digital
Right.
portion of it. Yeah. But before that, it used to be either phone, CW, or TTY, which is the radio teletype.
Right.
I had an old Kleinsmith it was a huge piece of machine, and it would sit there and spit out, little tapes that you read off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Radio teletype.
Yeah, radio teletype.
All right.
And then some guys even got Earth, Moon, Earth. They'd bounce the signal off the moon and talk back to the Earth. I haven't done that yet, but I've seen people do it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So in the time we're in right now, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. We have disasters happening everywhere. There, just a month or so ago, we had a really bad tornado go through the town of Matador, wiped out the town, cell tower, no communications. So as a ham operator, we can move into, with the correct permission and avenues, into a place like that and set up emergency communications. Is that right?
Actually, some of us hams have what we call go kits,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they're ready just to throw it in the back of your pickup truck with your generator, and that at a moment's notice, if somebody calls up saying we need help, either the state of Texas with the RACES program or through Amateur Radio Emergency Service, the acronym ARES,
Mm-hmm.
that man, we can set up in the middle of a field. We can set up in a hospital, or we can set up, you know, in a tent and establish communications. That way, we can get information in and out. I mean, example, if it's the Texas that needs help, what we can do, we can set up, and then all of a sudden we can communicate with into Austin at the Texas Division of Emergency Management, saying, "Hey, we need water trucks, or we need gas for the cell towers, or we need, you know, whatever we need." Then they'll dispatch it out of Austin, or you know, to help us.
Now, in the spring and summer, early summer months around here, we have a lot of storms. So we have storm watcher programs. I'm actually a qualified storm watcher. So we can actually coordinate with the NOAA Weather Service. Is that right? Or
Correct.
National Weather Service?
What we have is what they call Skywarn.
Okay.
And that Skywarn is a bunch of amateur radio operators, and we actually just go out, you know, wherever the National Weather Service wants us to go. Example, they say a big thunderstorm that's in close to, let's say, Trent.
Mhm.
Well, I'll take my automobile and go towards Trent, yet I know where to be at. So the storm, you know, where it's moving, I'm not in harm's way, and I can spot for, because the National Weather Service, their radar looks up and above; they can't see anything below, and we need eyes that shows what's going on below.
To confirm exactly what's happening.
Right. If the National Weather Service says they got radar with a hook echo in it, possibly a tornado, then we'll, you know, they'll say, "Hey, we got a spotter in Trent. What are you looking at?" It says, "Yes, we got rotation."
Mhm.
You know, but no tornado. Then all of a sudden, bingo, we got a tornado. All right.
Right. So we've exercised that a few times this year.
We have already.
We've seen some interesting stuff. In getting people interested and active in ham radio, what's a good way to go about doing that?
Contact your local club. You know.
Oh, you're the president of our local ham.
I am the president. I wear many hats, and one of those hats being I'm the president of the Key City Amateur Radio Club.
Okay.
So get a hold of, you know, hams,
Mhm.
and we start programs every once in a while. Matter of fact, you're a product of the Key City Amateur Radio Club. You know, having a you know, an amateur radio technician class. You know, then we got general class, and we got extra class. But that's a lot easier today than it was when I got my ham ticket, because you had to know Morse code as well.
Yeah.
You know, so all the way from 5 words per minute for a novice class, and there is no more novice class, you go to technician. And I'm in extra class. Well, in extra class, you had to know 20 words per minute Morse code, plus the theory of ham radio and everything else. Well, they've eliminated that aspect of it.
So it's a little bit easier to get into the hobby.
It's a little bit easier to get in the hobby.
And with technology, the way it changes all the time, you know, prices are coming down on some of the equipment. Some of the requirements have been relaxed a little bit. So if anybody has any interest in ham radio or acquiring a license or something, you can always stop by the shop here. Myself and David, we're here just about all the time. We love sitting around talking about ham radio and all the activities we do. So, uh, as well as commenting, we have our comments turned on right now. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to hack out a question. If not, swing by the shop and we'll sit down and visit with you. We have a few toys around that we can play with. I think there's probably no less than 5 or 6 handy talkies laying around here at all times. We're actually going to be putting in a ham shack here at the shop.
Betcha.
We have a tower that we're going to be putting up here. We either work at 4 in the morning when it's cool, or we'll wait till October. I don't know. I'm not a 4 in the morning person, so it may be a little while before we get our tower up. But we're going to have a ham shack set up here at the shop. For people that are traveling through and want to stop and check in on people, we'll have a station open where you can learn what FT8 is, RTTY, digital ham. So we like our toys. So as emergency communications go, you're also the director of emergency communications in Jones County, is that right?
Actually, I'm the district radio officer for District 7, which encompasses 19 counties around the Abilene area.
That's a lot of territory.
That's a lot. And my job is to get people involved in emergency communications through the Texas Department of Emergency Management. And we do this through what we call the Radio Amateur Civil Emergency Service, or the other, which is the acronym for RACES.
Okay.
So, example, next Monday, we're headed to Brownwood to talk to their club to get people interested in either ARES, the Amateur Radio Emergency Service, and or RACES.
Right.
And RACES, once again, it's Texas driven, right?
Okay.
So ARES is just amateur driven.
Okay. So in the last couple of years, we've already had several disasters. We had Snowmageddon a couple of years ago. The grid was down for a long time. Ham guys usually have backups. So generators, batteries, I know for field day. So a couple of weeks ago, we had Mike Roach on and we talked about field day. Field day for the ham club is exactly what we're talking about now. You are practicing your emergency skills and going out on a moment's notice, throwing up a quick tower, throwing some wires out for an antenna, hooking a battery up or solar panels or a generator, and being that link back to basically civilization where there's no communications.
The key is for field day is to, once again, in my particular case, throw your go kit into the pickup
And go do it.
and go do it.
Mhm.
All right, I got 2 generators at the house. One is dual fuel and the other one's gasoline. And just throw it and go to where they need you, and you can set up within 15-20 minutes and be on the air.
I know we have a club member here that usually sets up out at Nelson Park and he runs on batteries with a solar panel. So, I mean, that's really grassroots emergency communication.
Yeah, he's not running much power at all because, the drain and all the system. But once again, on certain bands with the band conditions, on digital type communications, I was working 30 watts the other day, and I worked a guy in Saudi Arabia.
Interesting.
It really was interesting.
So ham guys a lot of us are do-it-yourselfers. So you don't have to just take a credit card and go out and buy a bunch of expensive stuff. One of the fun parts about ham is actually building your own stuff. So it was probably 4 or 5 months ago, we got a spool of wire and some insulators and some fittings, and we made what's called a dipole antenna for about what, $25-$30 worth of stuff.
Oh, even less than that.
Yeah, and it took us about an hour and a half to build it. We went and threw it up in the trees out behind the shop, and we talked to, was it Brazil? We had a contact in South America.
I think it was Europe. Yeah.
We had Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Oregon. So, I mean, it's a fun hobby. It's a challenge. It's kind of like golf. You set out to perfect it every time you set your stuff up. And it's always a surprise as to what you get on the end of it.
You know, that antenna we made in 30 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And we're going to have an antenna class here shortly,
Yeah.
you know, how to build an antenna. So,
That's another good thing. We're always doing stuff to further our hobby. And it's not just a hobby. This is about communicating around the world when there's no other means of communication. So we'll have, let's see, the Ham Club's site is what? Their website.
oh, it's keycityarc.org.
Okay. And we'll put a link up to the Ham Club website when we're done, and there will also be stuff posted on technician classes, general license classes. We're doing an antenna class.
Yeah.
Actually, coming up in the next few weeks, we're going to do a basic electronics class.
I even taught 2 Morse code classes for those interested in Morse code. Matter of fact, you attended it.
I did. I had fun with it. And Morse code is definitely, if you don't use it, you lose it. So I need to get back to practicing. Great phone apps for keeping you polished up.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, there's always something going on in the ham community, and it's really, we need to keep it alive.
Well, there's so many modes of operation that if you don't like Morse code, you can do phone. If you don't know phone, but you're inclined for the electronic portion of it, well, then you can do digital.
Digital,
Or RTT, even slow scan TV, you can do that.
Okay.
I mean, it's you got so much things to do in ham radio that I'm sure there's something that you can be interested in.
Okay.
But you got to get licensed first.
This is true, because somebody will find you.
Yes.
Actually, those that operate without a license, it's kind of a game for those that have a license. It's a treasure hunt. You can take direction finding antennas out, and you can actually go and find something that's illegally using the bands, and it turns into a hunt.
We call it a transmitter hunt.
Right.
You know, and we find transmitters, and then we report it to the FCC. You know, because we're self-governing, because we don't want to jeopardize what we have.
Right.
So,
All right. Well, this has been fun. Well, do you think of anything else that we can talk about to give anybody some information on?
well, if you like to become an amateur radio operator, then please, by all means, come by here, and I'll get you started, or Edwin can get you started, and we can get you on the path to becoming an amateur radio operator.
Well, I think that's covered about what we can today. Again, everybody, thanks for watching and thanks for your support. Feel free to share this around. Texas Surplus and Survival out here on Highway 277. Got Army surplus gear. We can usually find ham gear if you need it, but most of all, come by and talk ham radios. We'll see you again next Thursday. We'll have something planned for you, and we'll go from there.
Well, as they say in the amateur radio community, 73.
Yeah, 73. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good evening.
Just gonna hang out for a second. Mics are off, so.